Hello, my name is Dr. John Sapola, and I'm going to play for you the all-state solo for baritone saxophone number 19 from the Gatti book. And this is marked at 80 to the quarter note. So let's go over a few things on this. Number one, the breath marks. So we have some breaths marked in here naturally because there are some eighth rests. So the second bar, we have an eighth note rest here, and the fourth, let's see, 1, 2, 3, fourth bar. So take a breath. Now I'm playing at a little faster tempo just to demonstrate where the breaths are. When you come up to this little passage here in the second line, that is a fermata, and I lead up to the fermata with a little bit of a pull back. I do the crescendo, then come down and resolve it onto your G at a softer dynamic level. And then still stay soft there because you have a fortissimo later on and you want to make that nice and full. Let's go back to the third, or forward to the third line, and on the third line we're going to have some low Bs, and we have 3 of them in a row. And what I like to say is that on the saxophone, in order for those to come out easily, we do a little popping of the key. And so basically, if I pop my F key like this, at the same moment I'm blowing my air, the note usually comes out a little easier. I don't even have to use my tongue. So in this case, now what I'm doing is I'm sort of trying to time when I play my little passage of the C, B, A sharp, B. When I put all my fingers down for the low B, I try to let that first finger on the right hand maybe come down slightly later than the other fingers. So I feel like the bottom of my fingers are coming down first, and then this one. So you'll if you experiment with that a little bit, you'll find what works best for you with the timing of that. But if it is possible to not take a breath down there, then you can play straight through there and maybe take your breath after the third low B if you need it. Now a breath. We have some large intervals, and on the baritone saxophone, sometimes those intervals don't want to speak, like especially a D or an F. D sharp, D. And so you may have to actually change a little bit of your jaw position here. I don't want to say that we should do much distortion of changing of our positioning of our jaw, but the baritone saxophone does require some flexibility, and so if you're playing completely rigidly, then, and especially if you're biting into the reed, which we don't want to do, then you're going to find those notes might overblow to the next register above. And so you're trying to keep enough flexibility that you can have a sort of muscle and air memory about where the placement of each of those notes is. This is a concept called voicing, and essentially it has to do with finding the right center and resonance for a note and the positioning of your tongue inside your mouth and what the oral cavity sort of looks and feels like. Really more importantly, what it feels like, so that you have a really solid confidence of where that note is going to speak. So pay attention to dynamics here. Make sure that you get a good read. I recommend Van Doren reeds. Number 3s would probably be a good read. Sometimes a 2.5, depends on the mouthpiece that you're playing. And be sure to have your instrument looked at by a good repair person. Do not try to play this thing too softly, because the notes may not speak. Oh, let me talk to you about one other thing, vibrato. So the way I play vibrato, and this is a good one to have some expressive vibrating of the notes, is to move my lower lip as if I'm saying wah, 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 wah. And so if I hold, for instance, the first note, the E, wah, 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 wah. Now, you'll find that maybe your entire jaw moves slightly, but really what I'm trying to do is just have the lip move. Because if I move the whole jaw, I'll get a very, very distorted sound. And you'll get a sort of biting and chewing, and we really don't want that. So if you leave the jaw pretty stationary and just have the lower lip wah, 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 wah moving, then you should be getting a nice vibrato. And when I practice this, I like to have a metronome on, and then I would have it, I would play different rhythms. So for instance, if we slowed the metronome down to around maybe, say 60, and I played 8th notes, triplets, quarter note, 16th notes. That'll give you some good practice in getting control of the vibrato. The saxophone embouchure is essentially pulling the neck strap high enough so that the saxophone falls into your mouth, and then you say the letter V. And the beginning of that letter, like this, enables your lower lip to come reasonably close to your bottom teeth, and when that happens, you close your corners down so the air doesn't leak. We don't want to bite into the reed or down with the teeth onto the mouthpiece. We just want to have a nice little shelf for that mouthpiece to sit on, and close your corners down so the air is not going to leak. And I really want to emphasize, especially on the baritone saxophone, flexibility, so that we don't have a very tight embouchure. I wish you all good luck, and thank you very much.